sick of seeing my ass. I don't believe that. I do believe that those of you, those 60 of you who are following me now, especially those 30 most recent, are going to start to feel a little bit overwhelmed by the amount that I'm producing. That I do know. But that's all good. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. You don't need to feel overwhelmed. I am homeless. And what I am trying to do, because I am also unemployed, is demonstrate just how actually productive and intellectual can be if they set themselves to being productive intellectually. I think that somewhere along the line we lost something, not just in the Western civilization, but as human beings. I think we've really just gone and lost the water cooler. So maybe I need to just go back to calling these watering holes. Maybe what I need to do is go back to doing some of these as spaces on Twitter, some of these just talking to myself situations. The problem with that is that I don't have the raw audio, and very, very few people watch spaces that are already concluded, listen to spaces that are already concluded. Very few people. I have a blue light on my lapel, if you're wondering what that flashing is. And so, man, I can really chew through some scenery, can't I? Give me a second. I've got $7 and now 1 cigarette remaining. We talk about this every week, and we're going to talk about this every week. And so rather than talk about how I'm not gonna quit the smokes, guys, just not. I've been smoking for too long. I don't want to live until I'm 80. I don't want to live cancer-free. I don't want to live any longer than I have to. I checked out 10 years ago. You don't understand. I checked out on all that stuff you guys care about. I checked out on all of that in 2001, maybe in 1997, really. So, rather than talk about how badly I want $5 so I can save almost $4, I think it is, on cigarettes, what I'm going to talk about instead is transparency. Transparency culture and how you get prophelicity wrong. You don't know what prophelicity is because you don't read sociology. But you don't understand how profiles work. That's problematic for you because we're all a profile anymore. You don't understand how accounts work. And so you don't really understand how transparency works. You don't understand how it works when somebody is telling you that they're being transparent with you and it's a lie. All you know is that transparency culture, especially transparency politics, are bullshit. And so if someone is claiming to be transparent, they have to be hiding something. I am a public nonprofit. I intend to pay no taxes. None. No income with this. I'm not making enough income tax for them, or not enough income for them to give a shit about my income anyway. It's all gifts anyway, so none of it is taxable. But I live like a nonprofit, and you aren't my customers and my clients. None of you has conscripted me as a customer or as a client. Only one person really gives me writing prompts that make sense to write about, and really only one person stimulates me as a religious person at all. That's okay. These are not shots fired. I'm Philalitheia, right? That means I'm a lover of truth. I read for you today, Justin Martyr explains what the lovers of truth were, what it is, what it's about. And it's about speaking the truth. It's about seeing the truth, and it's about speaking it. I'm gonna turn the camera around, give you something more visual to look at. I was accused, for example, of lying about there not being street lamps on this road. There are not street lights on this road. That is the only one. The rest of them are for that car dealership. I was accused of not actually living out in the country. This is a small city, and I am on the very, very north side of it. If I were to go just a mile north of where I'm staying, I'm not even in the city limits anymore. I just don't understand. I don't understand the skepticism with me, but it's because I'm transparent. It's because I'm hiding in plain sight. What am I hiding from, and what am I hiding? Those are the questions. Those are the questions. But see, that's the thing you don't understand as a person who's not educated in the truth, who's not been enlightened. As Justin Martyr explains what enlightening is. You haven't been bathed in the Word. And what that means is caught in the undertow of the meta text. As Justin makes it clear, all of the literary spiritual traditions were reaching toward the same things, and Jesus brought them all to fruition. Jesus completed it. When you're only 100 years away from the death of Jesus, that means something. It means something so important, you would actually write a letter to the guy signing off on all of the murders of your people. Because you no longer, for the first time in world history, identify as race groups. Race groups are the genealogies that stretch back to mythical heroes. For the first time in 5,000 years, your genetic hero no longer mattered. Didn't matter. Your wealth, your status, none of that set you apart anymore. For the first time in 5,000 years. Imagine that. For just a moment, Rome's ownership of the entire world was a culmination. It was the climbing of Mount Everest of 5,000 years of history to its point. Rome and China won. Unequivocally, without equivocating. Rome and China won that 5,000-year contest. And they won it in large part by agreeing to have absolutely no contact with one another and using the steppe peoples of Russia, effectively, and the non-violent religious of India as a buffer between their nations, between their states, between their very worldviews, their very identities. China, by the 1st century AD, had only just consolidated against the Indo-European steppe peoples of Russia and effectively Mongolia. Had only just. And so when you see somebody being transparent, saying, look at me, I'm see-through. Really, it makes me think of a Catatonia lyric. And this, I could probably sit down for you and I could probably make you a playlist of Catatonia lyrics that are just, here's me. But really, Catatonia is just me. The reason I didn't pursue music is because I found Catatonia and I was like, oh, okay. I keep saying this. So much of why I don't do X, Y, or Z is because it's already been done. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel and get famous for something that someone has already done. That's stupid in my opinion. You're allowed to want to chase that, but as far as I've got one life to live, being famous for what somebody else already did is just not interesting to me. What interests me is contributing where nobody else has been able to contribute before. Or at least hasn't been allowed to contribute in so long, the memory of what contribution looked like is gone. Well, the last person to contribute, in my opinion, the last people to contribute in a meaningful way to the conversation around religion were Plotinus and Origen, also pronounced Origin. They had the same teacher. And then Christianity became political. And religion was lost to government again for another 2,000 years. Well, it hasn't been exactly 2,000 years. It's been something like 1,500 years, maybe 1,700 years. Too damn long. Too damn long for there to have been no progress, no movement in the religious sphere. There's been no, like, okay, so when I was talking about Job today, I was talking about the social sea level, the belief that if enough people believed in and behaved in the proper ways, that everything would just eventually be good. You just, if you wanted to do the research yourself, you could understand the way I understand it by reading. It's something like why liberals lose the elections when they win the culture wars. And the reason is because conservatives are able to adapt. So once there's a new assumption of virtue, a new valor, a new goodness assumption, conservatives just adapt to it and do it. So if there's a new way to be polite in public, conservatives just go along with it. And then because they go along to get along, they win elections. And because liberals are constantly looking for new ways to shake up what it means to get along, they lose elections. It's just how it goes. But it's always gone that way. That's why Julius Caesar had to start a civil war in order to be recognized for what he had done for the Republic of Rome. It's just how it always goes. Always. At least since Rome won. Because you don't go backward. You understand? History doesn't move backward. Even when you have dark ages, huge regressions in technology and worldwide complexity, what you don't do is move backward in political science. What used to work keeps working. Everything builds up on itself when you're a speaking animal like humans. Even if you lose the written language, somebody survived from the time before and those people are able to train the new people. Now they're not as good, but Charlemagne happened almost immediately after Rome collapsed. Charlemagne was great. All right, now I'm walking into a gas station, so I'm going to mute rather than turn you off. All right, cool. Not sorry about that. Thank you for enduring my pocket with me. That is future audience. Thank you for that. I should have put my gloves back on before I took my phone out. Whatever. It's actually not cold tonight. It's only about, it's like 42, 45, something like that. It's balmy and wet, but it's not cold. So that's nice. Maybe I just leave my hands out of the gloves for a while. But anyway, transparency. I always think of well, not always anymore. I think of a Catatonia line. Oh, I didn't realize this was on still in the store. She could have told me my blinky blinker was on. Anyway, I'm glad she didn't look at me like I was crazy or anything either. I did not realize it was still on though. Anyway, he homages Jesus in one of his songs, he being Jonas Rensk of Catatonia, and he says, come, feel, I'm not real. And that's what I'm inviting you to do. I'm inviting you to test me. Because see, I'm also being an asshole. Like, let's just be real about it. So much of the atheist Christian argument that I keep getting myself in trouble for even talking about at all, because let me tell you, Brits don't like to realize or be told that their atheism is really just anti-Anglicanism. But anyway, and the anti-Anglicanism has gone so far that they're now Muhammad is the most popular baby name in their country. Oops! We're so anti-Anglican, we no longer identify as our own language. Whoops! And that's kind of to my point with the Charlemagne thing. Kind of to my point with ignoring the fact that Muhammad came significantly later than Jesus. Why? Because the Muslims copied writers like Justin Martyr to make the exact same claims about Muhammad as writers like Justin Martyr, Irenaeus. Plotinus didn't write about Jesus. Plotinus was a pagan mystic and philosopher, but he was writing about things that Christians recognized as Jesus. And Origen, and they just copied them outright to say, oh, well, Muhammad too. And then they just go, well, Jesus didn't really do it. And then the Christians lost access to those writings, and they didn't know how to argue back. They were too dumb. Too dumb to go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. And that's why every time the Muslims lose to a Christian nation, they burn all their records. Because they stole our history, folks. There's a reason that war has been going on for 800 years. There's a reason they hate us. They stole our history. We have a right to be upset. They copied our religion and then sold the entire world's women, the entire Middle East's women, into sex slavery, which is the exact opposite of what Jesus said was okay. So they set themselves up into direct opposition to a religion of peace. What was that religion of peace supposed to do? What was that religion of peace supposed to do? Was it supposed to do anything other than convince and pay people who didn't believe in the religion to go fight and die for their nation rather than for their religion? And so you have to invent the people group all over again because of a barbarian religion that's too stupid to know that it's its own extinction. Whatever. This is what happens when I walk. The mind wanders. I am Shaggy. I was once a shaggy dog storyteller for a short period of my life. Now I'm just a shaggy Philalitheia. You know, a wise man once told me that God gives us the bare minimum and after the last minute. And it's up to us to make it work. And I don't think he was wrong. I don't think he was wrong because, see, God tests us. He tests our faith. And your faith is never so vulnerable, never so unsure, never so unfaithful as the moment before a crisis. The moment before you need something. When you only want something and you don't get it in exactly the way you want it, now we're talking about your character. Now we're talking about who you are. I am a person of habit. I'm a person of routine. I'm a person of maybe not product loyalty, but it would look like product loyalty. I have product preference, all right? And so when I was in my 20s, one of the things that I decided was going to typify my character in poverty was that I liked nice things. I liked the things that I liked. They were peculiar to me, and I was going to shop around until I found exactly the things that I liked. So I got very interested in Scotch, whiskey. I don't like peat as much as the other flavor, smoke, and tobacco. I couldn't name any longer the pipe tobaccos that I know I like, rather the regions that they come from and the way they're cured, etc. But I got really into pipe tobacco. And I know exactly which cigarettes I like. And it turns out that my cigarette tastes are a little expensive. Because my cigarette tastes are a little expensive, that probably means they have more than the average amount of accelerant in them, which means they're more than the average amount of bad for me. The only problem with God's logic in having me go to a cheaper cigarette is that it probably has more preservatives in it because it expects to sit on the shelf longer. But I have smokes. I can maintain my routine for another 3 days. And then hopefully in 3 days, I will have gotten another $8 to $15 so I can maintain my routine. And then by then, I'll be looking at my weed and I'll be going, that's below 3/4. I'm going to want more of that soon too. And then it starts over. And then you could say to me, and I've thought this before, so we can have this conversation. I have absolutely no problem having this conversation with anyone. You, the future, the unknown audience, and the people who know and love me. Few of those exist, but, I don't know when you're hearing this. We can have this conversation. It cost me $0 to not smoke anything. Agreed. All right. That's that conversation. How many days do you go where you spend $0 a day? I'm actually genuinely curious. Because the worker feels like he deserves his bread, right? Right? So Jesus said, the workman deserves his bread. The worker deserves his bread. And we agree that we no longer dole out bread at the end of the workday. We dole out money at the end of the work week, and we call that money bread, euphemistically. So from my point of view relative to God, I feel like, hey, yeah, I know, God, you don't pay an hourly wage, but also you owe me money. Like, it's been a week, you owe me money. And then God doesn't have to respond on my time. Because what's going to happen is, after I no longer want these cigarettes and I'm no longer thinking about it and I'm just enjoying the weed and I've said all of my prayers and I've done all of the things that he wants of me, because again, just like last week, the reason that I don't have the money is because there's something I haven't done correctly. I was talking about this last night, that the weekends are when I really think about this. Because weekends are when I give myself time to really think about this. I don't give myself time between getting food, getting to Panera to work, doing the work, and then going back to my tent tired from having worked all day, having done these things. I don't give myself time to think about it, but on the weekends, all I kind of have is time. Also, I'm not sure, but I think there might be a mushroom growing in my pants. I'm gonna convince myself for a while that it was just gum that somehow got into my britches, but I think there might be a mushroom growing in these pants, which means that I need a lot more than just 5 and 30, or more than just whatever it was, 12 and $60. Let's say $13 and $60 at a time. I'm really gonna need a new pair of pants, which these thermal pants are $30, 30, 35. I don't remember what they were after tax. I bought them with a bunch of other stuff. I got new socks the other day. I'm excited about that still. My feet aren't cold. My feet haven't been cold and wet and disgusting for a few days. And then that'll change in a few more days. And I was starting to stink. I could tell that my sweat was starting to get stale on my body. So I wiped myself down with a damn wipe. I don't like doing it, but you know, go to the bathroom, take a pee-pee, wipe yourself down. Whatever. Other people do it. Maybe not in Panera bathrooms. Maybe in Panera bathrooms. Who knows? I mean, I know in big cities, people will brush their teeth after eating in restroom bathrooms. It used to be more of a thing in the 90s and the early aughts when people were more pathological about their teeth. But it was a thing. It was a thing that would happen. It was a thing that people suggested to one another. Hey, you know, after you eat lunch, you've always got time in the bathroom. Brush your teeth. Make sure you keep your teeth clean. I remember people saying that stuff when I was a kid. I'm leaving you to think about how this all connects to being transparent. Because I'm showing you aspects of myself, right? I'm being transparent. Because really, I'm leaving it up to you to examine and watch me and see how I'm different, in fact, from the other people who claim to be like me. Because like I was saying, I very much am the stick in the eye that's telling you that you think you know how to deny someone who claims to be a miracle worker. You think you know how to identify someone who claims to be psychic or empathic or to be a new religious leader. You think you know. But what you know is what women know in picking their sexual partners. You know when other people say they've identified it. And then you covet. And well, that can't be the right answer, can it? Can't be. Because it runs contrary to what we had already figured out by the time Jesus was born. All right, well, if you're coveting, you're doing it wrong. So what am I coveting? Of course I'm coveting the cigarettes, right? Of course. Now I'm starting to count how many I'm having a day, and I'm going, well, I can have 4 now, and then I can have 2 later. And that's 6 a day, and that stretches it this far. And that's just not how, first of all, that's not how God works. It's not how He wants it done. And second, that distracts me from what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's why He doesn't want it being done that way. You know, my mind is thinking when it is spent. And so you go, okay, well then quit, right? But then there's going to be that 2-week window. You know, there's that 10-day, 2-week window where that's going to be all I can think about. It's how bad I want a new cigarette. How bad I want a cigarette. How bad I want a cigarette. And then the question still remains, do I want it just to feed the habit because it's a habit that I have? Or do I want it because I like the flavor, I like the downtime? And how difficult is it actually for me to say no? It's super easy for me to say no. It's not even about the weather. Because we all know a real hard up nicotine addict will go stand out in the rain in 30-degree weather without a jacket for a cigarette. We all know the real hard up addict, smoking addict, right? I'm not that. I'm actually proud that I still have one cigarette, so I still have technically not gone through 2 packs in the 7-day span. Or whatever. Maybe it was Monday night that I got that money, but I'm pretty sure it was Sunday. Still, 2 packs in 5 days even is not bad. I don't feel guilty about that. You don't hear that very often from public people and religious figures. You don't hear "I don't feel guilty about that" very often. You don't hear honest declarations of emotion, first of all, and then you hear honest enough dodges and evasions of the question. But like there's a guy in my comments now. He hasn't come back in a while, but he was trying to get me to admit that people go to hell. And I wasn't going to admit to him that people go to hell, because hell can be a lot of different things. If you've watched my Off the Dome, you'll know that I've already addressed this. Well, since I've addressed it, as always go when I do a prepared anything, or when I do any kind of long form, I always learn more, and so my opinions are always bound to change almost immediately. It became obvious to me that hell was never a place. Unlike the kingdom of heaven, hell is a lived experience in life. Jesus doesn't say that people will get sent to hell. Jesus says that you will be destroyed in eternal fire. That's very different than hell. Hell becomes a euphemism for eternal fire because the religion has to soften itself in order to get rich converts to come into the fold. But what Jesus says is that you don't get to reincarnate. That's very different from your soul being trapped in hell. And anyway, hell being a place that your soul gets trapped in is actually datable in time. There was a book that explained the harrowing of hell, actually called The Acts of Pontius Pilate. There's a whole series of literary works that scholars call the Pilate cycle, something like that. There was a typo in the Wikipedia about it that I was reading the other night, where they called Pontius Pilates, and that just tickled me pink. Pontius Pilates. Oh my goodness, I've been laughing about that for days. So anyway, there's this whole cycle. But that shit didn't start happening until the 400s and 500s. Until right about the time Rome collapsed. Because even 400 and 500 years removed from Jesus, they had begun to forget why they were doing the things they were doing, what they meant. It had become politics. It had become status quo, business as usual. And it was never meant to be that. Never meant to be that. And so you can't move backward. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You can't reclaim it for what it was. That's the thing. And how do I know this? Because the last 200 years of American religion have been trying to reclaim it for what it was. And what have they done? Failed miserably. Killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions, maybe billions of people in that span. An approaching infinite number of people have died. because religion has been absolutely ridiculous for minimum 200 years. Minimum. This walk is almost over, folks. Yes, we are light polluted, but it's also Ohio, where you can't usually see much of the sky anyway because it's always fucking foggy. It's always cloudy. Yeah. If you were watching, not a damn street light the whole way up here. All of those are parking lot lights. Not a damn street light. I don't know how you get off accusing somebody of their environment not being what they claim it is. I don't know how you just outright call someone a liar like that. But the internet just gives you that. You know, it's always been like, it's so funny. Even the determinist and free will argument. It's always been the case that it's up to you to choose. It's up to you to choose. But without enlightenment, without real enlightenment, without real education, without really knowing what the fuck you're talking about, without real information, your opinion and your decision are idiot. They're bad for you. And you're probably being used to hurt someone. You know, it's fucking nuts to me. It's fucking nuts to me that we still have to teach that I was just doing my orders isn't fucking good enough. There were 2 whole wars over this dumb shit. We're still doing it. 100 years later, still doing it. 100 years after World War I, we're still doing it. It's been 109 years or something, 105 years, whatever. I don't know when it ended. 19? We're so dumb. But see, it's not that we're dumb as a species. It's that Europe is just taking it off. They're just taking the whole fucking century off. They just decided, fuck it. Fuck it. We used to rule the world, so even our peasants now are allowed to retire to islands. That's just what life is like now. And then wealthy Americans, because in the 17 and 1800s, Europe was the culture center of the entire fucking world, especially France. And then you would go to Germany if you were even a little bit interested in, let's say, suburban economic development. So we still send our rich kids over there because where else do you send them when you want them to just be as far the fuck away as possible? Well, your options are you send them to China, where they learn to be idiot communists, or you send them to France, where they learn to be idiot Marxists, or you send them to England, where they just learn to be idiots, or you send them to Scotland, where they think they have, Scotland or Ireland, where they think they have some kind of peasant virtue that means that they now get to retire from world history because their ancestors came from Scotland. It's like, shut the fuck up. No, none of that is okay. All right, I'm home. Please God, please God. Hey, thank you, big guy. See Schrodinger's tent, right? There's always a non-zero chance that my tent's destroyed when I come there, like it was that night. And there's always a non-zero chance we open it up, someone's going to be in it. So I'm hoping that never happens. Let's just pray that never happens. Turn this fucking light off. Draw as little attention to myself as possible. And then, once again, invite you to my home. There are lights here, but these are for the parking lot. Make sure that nobody's creeping back here trying to fucking steal. There's nothing to steal back here. Don't come back here looking to steal. You're gonna ruin everything for everybody. Specifically, you're gonna ruin everything for me. If you know where this is, just please be cool. Make it hard to be cool. You understand what I'm saying? Oh yeah, this is soft. I'm gonna have to walk on the outside of the path and not drag the whole muddy path with me. That's funny. Yep, I'm gonna end up bringing this whole path with me. Oh, this is not good for me. There we go. I like to look around. Sometimes there's deers out here. Not tonight. Yes, I like to pronounce the plural of deer as deers sometimes. Because I like to say things wrong. Everybody else gets to do it. Why do I have to be high functioning? Why do I have to be perfect? I don't have a good answer for that. So sometimes I just do things wrong on purpose. Sometimes I see the stomping beast up there. Spooky, right? He's up there now. I can hear him. He's just right over there. That's where he hangs out. It's spooky out here. Not gonna lie. Sometimes it really spooks me the fuck out being out here. Alright, you know the deal. I'm probably gonna end up putting you in my pocket or putting you down, or you know what, I might actually be done, because I think that's tough. I think that's exactly 8 hours for the day. Thank you for walking with me. Thank you for meditating on transparency while I talked about other things. You're welcome to ask me questions, and you're welcome to find me at Philalitheia on Twitter. I think, before I sign off, the reason I talk so much about money and about my expenses isn't to prove my virtue. I can't prove my virtue. I think it's about showing how much I think about it. Really, I'm asking you to give me money so I don't have to think about how much money I'll need and when I'll need to get it next. Because that's what you identify with addict behavior, is the obsessive thinking. But I think what I'm trying to do by demonstrating these walks and showing you what my downtime looks like, because this is what my self-talk sounds like. This is how I talk to myself in my head too, when I'm just doing exactly what I would be doing if I didn't have the camera on. Just being my authentic self. Like if you were walking with me and I just let my mind wander and I just started talking and you were just listening. I do these live in large part so I don't have the data. First of all, I don't have the video taking up space on my hard drive. And also because if you don't catch it live and you leave a comment and you ask me questions, I really want you asking me questions. That's what I want. That's what I need from you. But yeah, if you don't catch it live, it's the same. You're still asking the question to somebody that you think may or may not actually check the comments. Because I understand that fear. I'm small enough that, of course, I'm checking my comments, but not everybody is smart enough to look at things like channel size before they make decisions. Most people just work on algorithm, once bitten, twice shy. So once they figure out what YouTubers are like, they give no other YouTubers a chance. Why? Because all YouTubers are like that, right? Everybody's like that. Well, that's why I'm transparent. Because nobody's actually as transparent as I am. Who the fuck actually invites you into their expenditures for weed and for cigarettes? Who admits in 2024 to being a smoker of cigarettes? Who asks for help continuing to be a smoker of cigarettes? Who in their right mind? No one. Because transparency isn't something that someone would do if they were in their right mind. Transparency is what a crazy person would do. But I'm not trying to advocate to you that I'm not crazy. Of course I'm crazy. Who would choose to live in a tent when they have the skills to not need to? Who would choose to use the intellectual gifts that they have in the specific way that I am choosing to do it? An insane person who's proving that free will exists. Because this is how the child me wanted to do it. So, this is how adult me is doing it. Because adult me wants to know what child me would have been like if he had been allowed to develop the way that everybody else does. The way everybody else did. I hear you, buddy. I'm sorry. I know I'm being loud. So I love you. Know that I love you. Even if I hate your stupid guts. Even if you're just absolutely abhorrent to me. Because it's not that titanic an ask. It really isn't that titanic. It's not that much to ask that we just do the forgiving. It's really not putting ourselves aside that much. You can do it. Because I can do it. And there are probably only 0.1% of the people who will ever watch this who have been through more difficult, more painful, and more personality damaging events than I have. There's probably only 0.1% of the people who will ever watch this who have experienced the amount of despair that I have. (15 to 35% of the people who claim to be in that 0.1% are outright lying. Because they think that what I'm getting right now is internet clout by telling you that my life has been difficult. It has been tragic. It has not been a story that is going to make you happy to have heard front to back. It's going to make you think, why the fuck is he still trying for us? Why did he not just walk off a bridge? Why, when he had the chance, did he not just walk east and go to Kansas? Why did he choose to bed down in Tabernacle and try to rescue us? Well, that's also in the story. Why do you think Jesus did it? I know the answer. I had a visionary experience. I saw it. But why do you think? All right. That's my Midwestern goodbye. Remember to keep your eyes open. Hands up, palms out. Head on a swivel. If you're aware of your environment, and your environment is aware of you, there's no telling what it could do for you. There's no telling how it could transform. And look, I'm not joking. If you want to get close to me, you want to say your prayers at night. Because there is a non-zero chance that thing walking around over there making all that damn noise was never actually alive. Not like you or me. Whether we like to believe it or not, we are at the mercy of the supernatural, the ultra-normal. What you don't want to do is displease it. So you want to keep your eyes open, because weird stuff is going to start happening in your life. Because you're going to blame me. So just say your prayers tonight, all right? Take care.